John, what's the value to your team of winning faceoffs in terms of what it can do to allow you to kind of possess the puck and play the game you guys want to play?
Well, that's just it. Like, it's hard enough to get the puck, so it's a set situation. One of the few times you can somewhat control what's going to happen, and face-offs are it. So, oftentimes you can see a team if they've got a huge advantage in the face-off circle, especially in special teams. It's an advantage, and we've been a little bit hot and cold in that department.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com.
John, curious about Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman and exactly what they have done for the rest of your team. Because it seems to me that those are two guys, as good as you guys have been since you've been there, at least of late, those are two guys that you haven't had, those two types of players. What have they done for the rest of the lineup?
Well, they've slotted everybody in the right spot, including themselves. And when you have four lines or, 11 forwards, which we sometimes do, to me, if you want to have success, guys got to be slotted right. And they just seamlessly fit into that quote unquote third line, checking line, energy line. And I'd be remiss if I didn't, we didn't include Yanni Gordon there, but that's the big thing for us. Like, it just put everybody in their proper roles.
Ken Campbell, The Hockey News.
John, a couple of questions. First of all, do you feel like you guys?
Oh, you get to answer them both, or do you have to answer one and come back and circle back for the second one?
I'm not sure what the protocol is here, but I'm just.
You're setting new precedents here, so let's roll with this. Let's roll with this.
I'm just trying to do my job. Do you feel as though you guys maybe have gotten to Khudobin a little bit? I think, last night there was a lot more traffic. You made him move around a lot more, especially on the power play. I'm wondering if you feel like you've kind of not solved him, but gotten to him a little bit. And the second thing is, what is that on that T-shirt that you're wearing?
Okay. For Khudobin, I think we got some past him last night. I'm not sitting here saying we've gotten to him. I think there's a recipe to have success, not only against him, but against anybody. And a big thing is to make guys uncomfortable in front of their net, whether that's taking eyes away and making them, you just got to make it hard on them. That's the bottom line. And any goalie will tell you, if they're fighting through traffic, if it's hard to pick up pucks, if they're always trying to guess, it makes it for a harder night. And it's just not him, it's for everybody. I think we did that a little bit last night. I'll circle back on the second question.
Okay, we'll go to Eric Erlinson, Lightning Insider.
Hi, John. I'm just curious with staring down back-to-backs this weekend, does that change anything in how you have to manage your team? You're already managing some players as it is, but just your approach, knowing that you're going to have to face that this weekend now.
Yeah, but both teams have to go through it. So at this time of year, everybody's got something wrong with them. And especially this year. This year, with the amount of games just on top of each other, it seems like we're playing every single night. It's unheard of to have back-to-backs this late in the year. I understand why it's happening, and both teams know it's coming, and so it affects both teams. So it's just I have always respected the guts of the players in this game, but even more so this year for what the guys have done and in the environment we've played in and the intensity they're playing with. It's pretty remarkable, and the one thing you hope is that in the 3 and 4, you hope that the games are still really exciting and executing, because that's what happens when teams get tired. The execution is usually the first thing to go. So hopefully we can keep this pace up for both teams as it goes on.
Joe Smith, The Athletic.
Hey, John, you mentioned the other day it's tough not having your family there, and I know you'll probably get to see them in a week or so no matter what, but just what's been the hardest part for you personally with that? And has Johnny got a new phone yet? Like last time we talked to you, you dropped one in the lake.
What did he say?
Johnny dropped his phone in the lake. Did he get a new one?
That's a question.
I said, how hard was it without the family the whole time? Like, what's been the hardest part for you?
Oh, without the family?
Yeah.
Oh, missed an anniversary, birthday, another one's coming up, first day of school, hockey tournaments, swimming. My daughter making the swimming team, my other daughter and going to her first dance class. I mean, where do you want the list to go? And there's a lot going on. And so you don't get to see some of these milestones in your kid's life and your wife's life. So those are things that, those are the tough parts. That's why if we can pull this off, it would just make it all that much more rewarding.
Jim Matheson, Edmonton Journal.
John, your Braden Point and Kucherov and Hedman get all the play in the playoffs, but you've got Vasilevsky in goal. And does he just get overlooked because he's so good? Like on a lot of really good teams, the goaltender, he plays every single minute.
Yeah, I don't think he gets overlooked. I think the fact that he has played every single minute, it's a testament to him and his, the condition he keeps himself in. But I think there's a lot of bright spots on a team when you go far, and you listed a bunch of them. And Dan mentioned Coleman and Gaudreau, and you just have guys that on every single night somebody comes to the forefront. The one difference with the goaltender is he has to be there every single night, and they probably get taken for granted a little bit. Especially when you don't have one or when you have one. And so, he's not overlooked in our locker room. Everybody knows the value he brings to our team.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
Hey, John. So fans, probably the media, we like seeing lots of goals, and we always, Tampa's one of those teams that plays the game, always play the game sort of the way you like to watch. There's a little fence and you guys fly around and stuff. But you lose last year and your GM says, I'm not blowing this thing up, but I got to figure out what we're going to do. We got to do something here. We got to figure out what the issue is. You got a little bit, I think it was Braden Point that said, you guys can play now a game you couldn't play before. Maybe a tougher game. Maybe it is Maroon and Bogosian and Goodrow and those guys. Tell me about the stuff you had, the intangibles, even a skill team. You got to get tougher. You got to get grittier. Is that part of the reason why Tampa's better than they were?
I would say you're right about how we used to play in the past, and we have an ability to score some pretty flashy goals. There's no question about that. But, we used to be a team that wasn't good enough to beat you 3-0. We had to beat you 9-0. And we had to change that attitude. And with that, if you play that way, especially when you get to this time of the year, bad things are usually going to happen. And I think experience and being humbled can help right a ship. And I truly believe last year's experience we're seeing I don't know how to say it, the fruits of that awful setback in last April. And what do they say the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We couldn't do that. And so you need to have an attitude adjustment, and guys have to buy in. And it starts with the stars and the guys that are used to putting pucks in the net. And you look no farther than Nikita Kucherov's game last night and how he was getting beat up in ways that for anybody, it's hard to come back. And all he did was come back and run a power play that scored 2 goals and be a big part of why we won. And when the guys understand that it's now what you keep out of your net and not how much you put in your net, good things will happen, and that's what's gone on so far.
We'll take a couple more for Coach Cooper. Jean-François Chaumont, Journal de Montréal.
Wow, that was impressive.
Sammy's good in French.
Yeah, that's really good. You should see he's patting himself on the back right now.
John, I want you to go back to February. I know it feels like 3 years ago, but do you remember having any talks with Julien Brisebois saying, "We have a good team, but we're going to need more grit. We're going to need more balance in front"? And how can you describe the work of Julien during the past maybe 12 months on your team?
Well, I would say one of the things, like Julian and I have been together for 10 years now, and we won a Calder Cup in 2012, doing the same things we do now, and that was communicating. There's one thing for a coach to come in and say, this is what we need. It's another for a GM to have the same philosophy and then go out and do it. That's the hard thing. And I commend him because he stuck his neck out in the line. And I know he was probably questioned or criticized for the amount people perceived he gave up, but to me, it doesn't matter. It's what you have assets do to build your team to win, and he did that. And so they weren't sexy trades. They weren't sexy signings back in the preseason, but they were gutty ones, and it was what we needed. And when you have the communication we've had from the outset has really put us here, and you got to commend Julian for doing what he had to do to put us in this position.
And last question, Owen Newkirk, Dallas Stars Radio.
Yeah, hi, John. In regards to special teams, I'm curious what your thoughts are, how different it is in a playoff series where you see the same team over and over again, that kind of cat and mouse of tweaking things, both power play and penalty kill, as compared to the regular season when you see so many different teams night in and night out.
Yeah, like I'm a big believer. I was really fortunate to meet Bobby Knight, the basketball coach, about 10 years ago when I was coaching Green Bay. And one thing he said to me, he said, don't worry about what the other team does. Worry about what your team does, and they'll end up having to worry about you. So I've always kind of tried to take that philosophy with me. In the regular season, it's a lot easier to have that mentality because you're just playing all these different teams all the time. It's really hard to prepare when you're playing, 3 and 4 and the 3 different teams in 3 different cities. So, but when you get to the playoffs, it's a little bit different, and you do have to worry about your own team, but you have to worry about the other one as well. And so if you don't make adjustments, they're just going to make adjustments on you, and you're going to be in trouble. So I know, our staff, especially after those game ones, is when you really get a kind of a feel for how the other team is. And I'm sure Dallas is doing the same thing. They'll look at stuff we did last night and probably make adjustments. And that's, like you said, that's the cat and mouse game. But yeah, the philosophy changes a little bit in a 7-game series because you definitely, you've got time to prep now for another team. And so the balance of looking after yourself and looking after what another team does, it kind of evens out a bit.